confidence from the Chiefs in particular. Rito, I think it shines brightly where they absolutely despise playing your things like your Wolverine, your Daredevil, Black Cat if they're pulled into it on ping. But now having that lesser difference, if they are pulled into those heroes, you'll see a ton of confidence from them there.
That it looks like we are slowly but surely making our way into the ban draft as we kick things off here on Celestial Husk between N1HEX and Reject. Reject coming in, guns blazing, already on that hot streak, looking to extend it even further, while N1HEX barely made it into playoffs and are trying to get some kind of run going as we soon enough show you guys what's been going on in the ban draft. But for now, we're just going to try to, you know, use your brains a little bit, right? And make you imagine how this ban draft is coming out, because right now N1HEX have kicked things off with the Gambit ban. Reject have used their first ban on the Mantis, and Reject will be able to secure one-sided, which means that N1HEX on their end have secured the Gambit for themselves while also taking away the Loki.
Yeah, going to be shutting that one down and putting full denial onto the Rogue team up there with the Gambit as well. Star-Lord looking to be hovered here. Could it be great? It looks like we do have our draft getting updated on screen as well. Big shout out to production there for putting that for your viewing pleasure, Dan.
Yep, and with the Gambit being secured on the side of N1HEX, Reject, you can see the deviations in between the ban drafts, right? Reject are really going to have to take away things that are enabled by the Gambit, right? You got to take away the Rogue, you got to take away the Star-Lord, and you maybe even take away things like the Phoenix, maybe even Wolverine as well. Cyclops also being a problem. There you go. As I say that, both teams will take it out of the picture, which does lower the stock of Wolverine just a tiny bit.
Yeah, they'll have a little bit of priority there. Why not? Why not? I loved some of the hovers coming through. Unfortunately, chat can't see that, but I'd love to see the Hawkeye hovers coming out from N1HEX there. That's just aura through and through. Bring back Hawkeye, those who know. But we know that our game is about to get underway here. Very excited for the kinds of compositions we're going to see. I've heard that Emma Frost stocks are all the way up, by the way, so look forward to plenty of that getting into the game. See who is going to be bringing it out, if anybody, though, very soon.
Yeah, as we start to round things out here, Rocket Raccoon going to be taken away, which means that if N1HEX want to really use that Star-Lord, they're not going to have access to the CYA. The best thing they've got is that Raging Royal Flush, and with the round-out ban onto the Luna Snow by N1HEX means that Reject are going to have to think of different ways to try to utilize that front to back. If N1HEX really go for the more rush down / dive style of play, it's going to get a little bit more difficult as we already get right into the map here. N1HEX versus Reject as they both look to try to fight it out here in the neutral.
Yeah, time to battle it out and see who can dispel any doubts here. It's the King of the Skies, Biggie, rising up on the Angela right now. And we'll see if they can destabilize the dive potential of D-Spooky here. I like how they're not giving them any freedom into this one and already are trying to force their hand here. But mission area now going to be unlocked. The full contest looking to come through, but N1HEX, they just aren't coming calling. Rejects get a free capture there, Dan. What a start. And they're looking to rip it apart even more. Yaki going on talk here, finds Windscar. Now Brownie backing it up as well. 1, 2, 3. They come into it for free. So Reject just having an absolute field day, singling them out, and that is a full send capture.
Yeah, I mean, there was one point where everyone on N1HEX were just way too low to keep contesting on the mission area, and Reject used that as an opportunity to seize it for themselves, and then N1HEX tried to force their way back in through the neutral area, but unfortunately, Reject are just the better team. Brownie getting that sweet little off angle to just take away 2 members of N1HEX's backline meant that with a severe man disadvantage, N1HEX just could not extend that fight even more. Now they're going to have to go into what Reject are doing, because right now Reject, they have that front to back style of play, but if they need to, they can easily also just disrupt the backline.
Yeah, going to be able to shut them down nice and quick there. Louis, the first to fall. So N1HEX is going to have to consider their options here. Symbiotic Resilience going to be popped by D-Spooky there to get out of the fight safely. But again, everything just looks quite disjointed for N1HEX at the moment, as Reject just continue to decipher their stance piece by piece here, and they haven't had to commit much either. They almost have a full stack of ultimates onto this. This is kind of insane, Dad.
Yeah, this is what's scary when you're on N1HEX. Yeah, you do have the Raging Royal Flush on Exile, but look at how many ultimates Reject have. If they want to, they could easily keep N1HEX at bay with that Rage Up Ultron. Also, maybe even use a defensive ultimate like Lastro with the Invisible Woman. If they need to, could just use the Invisible Boundary to just keep N1HEX at bay, as Reject are just looking to make the more aggressive move. Taking away NRX means that if Exile wants to go for the Raging Royal Flush, NRX will not get any benefit out of it.
Yeah, no benefit, no worries as the story continues here. The Spooky trying the best they can to contest this one, but only going to be doing it singularly. Fate of Both Worlds coming out from Windsor there to at least try and sort things out a little while longer. The Spooky might be able to bring it back if they can maybe get a portal through or swing their way back to the mission area quick as lightning. NRX now delayed on the Galactic Legend, trying to keep things alive, but it's just not going well. One by one, they're all falling down here. They do manage to get the Spooky back on deck when it counts, so at least they got that going for them, but outside of that, everybody is bumbling down, and that will be Reject. Locking in the first capture point there. Well done, as the Celestial Hand comes to a close, and we open up the Celestial Codex.
I mean, great fight and discipline coming from Reject, not using any of their ultimates, right? Sunghun held on to the Soul Resurgence. Gargoyle held on to the Meteor M. Could have easily used it defensively to deny NRX's Galactic Legend, to try to soak up all the bullets that NRX was flying at them. But Reject held onto it, and now we'll have access to it coming into the first fight here in the second round. As N1HEX, they have more aggressive options, right? Louis with the Scion Seduction, the Spooky with the Feast of the Abyss could easily try to find ways to disrupt the backline of Reject, but with Reject having access to those ultimates like the Soul Resurgence and the Meteor M, N1HEX are gonna have to work for it if they want to win out here in this first fight.
And let's see if they can cook up a storm now as the gates open. We get ready to roll out, and keen to see if they are going to be able to stroll ahead of this one, as N1HEX not making any significant changes at all here, just trying to do the best they can under this one with just raw willpower. But with willpower, it's Reject willing their dive out of existence there. The Spooky is done, and they're now looking to make the rest of their potential come unwound, as well as Brownie is inbound, trying to hunt down NRX here, but not going to be able to get them away from this one just yet, although they do catch Blaziken, so always staying a man ahead of this.
I mean, Piggy's doing a great job at marking the back line, trying to disrupt it as much as possible. It just feels like N1HEX are just so disjointed. Reject are playing together as a team, whereas N1HEX, it just feels like everyone on that team is just doing their own thing, right? They have ultimates, but they're not really coordinating it. They just never found an opening because Reject just find all of the picks, all of the damage that they need, and are able to just build up that ultimate economy more and more, to the point where if N1HEX want to use ultimates, Reject will have ways to clap back.
Yeah, they just have an answer for everything. They're going to go first and burst into this one with the Galactic Legend onto the Soul Resurgence. They are doing everything to shred them like paper right now. They did have the end song to sustain through the fight a bit longer, but it just doesn't matter. Heaven's Retribution coming down as well, locking T-Spooky in place and getting them the hell out of that place. So that's going to be Reject on a full send towards the halfway point and maybe there beyond.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Reject want to do, right? You know that you have the better ultimate economy here. So that means you just pressure N1HEX to the point where if N1HEX want to use ultimates, they have to use it in front of their own spawn. And it just sucks for N1HEX because if they want to use ultimates, Reject still have ways to counteract. Finally, N1HEX make the aggressive move, but it feels too little too late because Reject already have those defensive answers.
Yeah, the answers are there, and the Meteor's here. as they step it into gear. Boom! They will find Blaziken there. So we're back in the dunk zone, Dan, and maybe more to follow up here. Carbon Crush coming out though. Gargoyle in a bit of trouble here. Needs that LOS towards their strategist, so we'll get it just in time. Otherwise, they might have been dialed out of the fight here. Brownie locked down as well. Does shut down the MFOS player. Looking for more around the corner. Bursting ahead of it, and they will continue to spread their reach forward. Little by little, the percentage claws its way up. A portal surely should ensue now, Dan.
Yeah, N1HEX now finally have an ultimate advantage. It's going to be up to Brownie if he's able to get the Galactic Legend down. Whizger goes in with the Fate of Both Worlds. N1HEX is going to follow it up with the Galactic Legend, which means that everyone on Reject are going to have to retreat for a little bit and wait for their own ultimates to come back online. Piggy does go down in the end, but Brownie is able to get the Galactic Legend down, and it's completely uncontested. N1HEX have absolutely nothing to counter this. Reject are just going to go full force off the back of Brownie, and Reject surely are going to soon enough be able to flip the site over in their favor and take over map 1.
Yeah, surely they can get things back in the spin here as they're already committing absolute murder over the mission area as they found a triple KO for Sunghoon, making a quad on the Jeff there. You love to see Sunghoon absolutely farming. It's Jeff coming out as well for a bit of aura. They're trying to take their team on tour here to close out map number 1. A Celestial Husk done and dusted. Reject fly through with confidence there. You gotta pay respect where it deserved, Dan. But one small thing I'll say, good on N1HEX for at least taking a capture towards the tail end of that one. It does give me a little bit of hope that maybe we could be in an onwards and upwards from here approach for the rest of the series.
I mean, the only time they flipped it over is because they had the better ultimate economy. Fate of Both Worlds with Galactic Legend meant that Reject just had to reel back for a tiny bit. They know that they have Brownie coming up soon with the Galactic Legend. So if Reject are able to stay alive and just stall for a little bit, yeah, you did have to sacrifice the vision area for a little bit, but Reject knew, like, once Brownie was able to get that online, he's just able to just laser everyone down, because after that, they knew N1HEX had absolutely nothing to shut down that Galactic Legend.
Yeah, they just didn't have any answers there, and so they just got absolutely ripped apart, and it was over and out. Without a doubt there. So, a grand way to kick things off with a bang onto this one. Great to see that Brownie is being used into this part of the endeavor as well. I'm curious, Dan, when and if they'll be using Finale this time around as well, as I think even into previous times we did have conversations that they're kind of trying to play with both of those players. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see when they decide to put maybe. I assume maybe not in this series against N1HEX, because we've all been predicting, right? Reject surely are able to handily take down N1HEX here 3-0. But then again, right? It's a best of 5. There's still a lot of room to work with for N1HEX to try to fabricate some sort of comeback potential, but after seeing that first map, I mean, looking at the KDs, right? Reject have double-digit eliminations across the board, and then you look at N1HEX, it's just bone dry. They were just not able to find any sort of eliminations. And we talked about it, right? N1HEX just play more together as a team, whereas... Reject are playing more together as a team. And then N1HEX, on the other hand, are just, like, doing their own little thing. There's not much cohesion. There is not much of that, like, hey, we want to use this ultimate and try to stack it up with this. And N1HEX just never found that aggressive move, and Reject were just able to punish it completely.
Yeah, it just felt like they were playing with a very just single mindset, you know, rather than being a hive mind there. So I'm hoping that they can come into their own heading in towards the next map there. We're going to have to find out what that's going to look like on the other side of this break, though, everybody. We'll be back with more Rivals action right after this.
Pentagram of Farala. Our enemies are near. By the eye of Agamotto! Out, dark magic! Let the devil go! You couldn't be saved.
Hey, look, I've read chat. I gotta ask, Dan, when are you starting stream?
Look, Day, I know you're in there. I know you started this. I don't have power. Don't make the entirety of chat go for my throat just yet. Not yet.
We'll give it an extra map or two, and then it's a free for all for Dan. But speaking of a free for all, it kind of was for Reject. I will say though, 27% P2 Celestial Hand for N1HEX was pretty good, but I want to talk about the bans again because that's just been the most popular topic from our pre-show, right? We had N1HEX focus entirely outside of Cyclops on strategist bans against Reject, but they left Ultron and Mantis open. Matsi, I feel like that was a fatal error in their part.
Yeah, because of how much those two especially can enable like a team composition right now, right? It is. Because we saw like the full effect of it as well, because all hell broke loose from then and there. So
quite literally.
It really is like a give and take situation, right? You really have to consider exactly which heroes you do and don't want to deal with. And given that, you could even see just a full lineup of strategist bans coming out from teams, you know, if they aren't so worried about the Cyclops, for example. But given the impact of Cyclops as well, it leaves room for a lot of other things to be open.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, you know, not even, you know, skipping over the whole Gambit aspect that we saw too, right? You're leaving a lot of damage amplification on the window that Reject certainly took advantage of, right? Would you rather have a lot of heals, like what Reject couldn't get, or do you want that double, maybe even if with Rocket available too, triple damage amplification?
I feel like it's just damage amplification, because if you have damage amp, you essentially have a faster ultimate charge, right? The amount of damage you do is almost one-to-one translated into ult charge. Yeah, Season 7.0 did reduce the amount of time it takes for you to get your ultimates a little bit, but still, it's like damage amplification is still insanely valuable if you want to get that ever so slight edge over your opponent if they don't have access to that same damage amp.
I see. Let's see how that affects things as we go to Yggdrasil path. Now remember, the way things work around here is that the losing team gets to choose their map. So Celestial Husk didn't go N1HEX's way. They choose Yggdrasil instead, and just looking at some of my data, we normally get to see maybe like convergence maps or maybe even museum be that secondary post choice against Reject. Not this time around. Is Yggdrasil going to be the answer to N1HEX's equation?
It's a tough one, right? I think that this map in particular can promote some of your more traditional type compositions there. I think we can definitely see them try and put priority over something like maybe the Groot, you know, to hold on to that first choke point there. Emma Frost can definitely come out as well. As I've said, it stops it up in a big way. But yeah, it's really tough as to how they want to track this one. I mean, like, yeah. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, we can see it right now, right? N1HEX did choose the attack side first, so they're gonna have to find a way to break things open with some sort of spawn break, either through just sheer amount of damage amp and damage, or you just try to find ways to get some sort of dive going, try to make some space, move the convoy just a little little bit, you know, little by little, as they try to get the spawn break open. But it's just like, ooh, I don't like. It's hard to say like what N1HEX really should do, right? It really comes down to that ban trap, right? Leaving open the Mantis and the Ultron definitely was a little bit of a fumble in the camp of N1HEX, because Reject were just able to take full advantage of it, and we're just able to run away with that game, because N1HEX, they did rely on the Gambit a lot, and you saw how they just got simply out-tempoed by that damage amp.
We are moments away from map number 2, boys, and I've been looking over my notes while hearing sweet, delicious analysis in my ears. And I want to repeat 4 words to you all, maybe 5. I'm not a very good counter. Burning T'Challa, Symbiotic Surface, and Shin Shibuya. What do all these have in common? These are the only maps that Reject have lost since that second week of group stage back in preseason. It's not Yggdrasil, who could this be the 4th map this team loses to the hands of the team that barely squeaked into playoffs?
I mean, not only that, it's also they're all convergence maps. You could argue that Reject's weakness really could be those convergence maps, but right now, after seeing what they did in Stage 1 groups, I think that weakness is completely gone. And as a Reject are forced to put themselves on the Yggdrasil path by N1HEX, we're going to see what N1HEX do in terms of that adjustment. Do they try to stray away from focusing on the Gambit? Do they try to focus more on the Mantis instead? It's a lot of question marks for N1HEX in terms of how they want to adjust going into this next ban draft.
Yeah, going to be jumping into that right now, and let's see what our first bans and protects will end up being here as we hold things out. Hold a candle, if you will. Will it be Gambit? Will it be Mantis? Will it be Cyclops? It's going to be both Gambit and Mantis to kick off.
Yep, I mean, that's been the exact same, right? Actually, no, Reject did take away the Gambit. They secured it for themselves, and N1HEX on the flip side, they're just going to flip-flop what they did back in map 1, right? N1HEX are now going to get access to the one-sided Mantis. Reject this time around will get access to the one-sided Gambit, and as we head further and further into this ban draft, you're gonna again see that differential of that like branching out of the ban draft, right? If you're on the side of N1HEX, you got to take away things that enable the Gambit. If you're on the side of Reject, you got to take away things that are enabled by the Mantis, like the Ultron, like maybe like Cyclops, Wolverine, you name it. Anything that take advantage of that damage amplification, you need to take away pronto.
Yeah, as soon as possible. And I mean, the big thing right now is they've actually allowed Rogue through, so this could mean a protect, and there it is coming out from Reject here. So they are going to be able to play into the full extent to the team up between Gambit and Rogue, which is kind of crazy to see that one coming through from them. You know, they're allowed a strength into the first map there. Now they have another strength into this one, but I do see the opening opportunity now as well. I like how N1HEX adapted and took away the Star-Lord from Reject. They have banned away the Rocket here as well, and they've taken it for themselves. So the Rocket Mantis into this is actually kind of good. I think that Rocket can play his own kind of pseudo Gambit role. You know, you were talking about that before. I think that the CYA definitely has its place.
And we'll see how N1HEX utilize all of this damage amplification as Reject finalize their final ban on the Phoenix, taking away a little bit of that front-to-back potential as well, a little bit of that hit scan option on the side of N1HEX as Reject, I mean, Reject are happy with their ban draft. I'm sure N1HEX are also happy because they got away with a triple damage amp style of a strategist backline, right? Winsger, if he does have the CYA, could utilize that 40% damage amp to enable the entire team. Exile and Bladescan will just consistently put out that damage amp to the rest of N1HEX. We'll see if Reject are able to get the hold down. N1HEX come in here on the attacking side with a ton of that damage amplification and also a bit of that front to back as well, because they had that team up of the Vitality with the Mantis and the group.
Yeah, and you've spoken about the power of that before, and now they have that in their own favor here. So very keen to see if it plays out. Gargoyle almost in a bit of trouble. Assassin's Charge coming through, forcing them in to the back rooms there with Yaki. Now going to be running it back to the mission vehicle again, though. Trying their best to isolate something in the back line from this. I like their focus onto this. Brownie as well, trying to shut down all the KO enablers there. NRX, the first one to fall, and looking for more to stall it out. They're already doing what they do best again. Reject singling out those prior targets here and just disengaging so much of that attacking presence there.
At the very least, N1HEX were able to get the convoy up to the halfway point, but Reject quickly are able to shut it down, at least here in the neutral, before any other ultimates are online. NRX is doing his best to try to find some sort of elimination, but with him getting dangerously low, he's going to have to tuck tail and run ever so slightly, as the rest of N1HEX still struggling to find the opportunities of a pick potential, but at the very least are able to just, hang back, wait for their ultimates to come online, because N1HEX should have the upper hand in terms of that tempo.
Yeah, you'd imagine, especially with the Raging Royal Flush coming out, and now they're going to be able to flush their way straight through the attacking line here. N1HEX are trying to enable a flank, but I mean, they can only get so much from that when their whole front line is gone. They are out of here and forced on to the harder reset. So they are building up a few ults of their own, so they might be able to break past this first choke point, but Reject are just doing a great job of stalling them out right now.
I mean, this is the problem coming in, right? You have a lot of that damage amplification, but if you're not able to secure those eliminations, you're essentially giving a lot of that ult charge on the side of Reject, and that's why Sunghun was able to get his Raging Royal Flush so damn quickly. N1HEX used both strategist ultimates to try to make some of that space. Winsker is still holding on to the CYA, so we'll see how Reject are able to handle this, as Lasho is already using that Fate of Both Worlds, so Winsker should be able to get that uncontested CYA, and is going to pair it up with NRX.
Yeah, pair it up and burn it through as Biggie pulls through for 3 there. Yaki on the scoop attack as well. Looking to scoop up yet another KO here. Not going to go for it all the way though. Will be forced to retreat out of that one, but it's good that they're commanding presence here, keeping control of this space and not allowing N1HEX to push any further beyond. They've also got that last stand available, so even if they try and go for something, they can get shut down immediately by Yaki here.
Yeah, if N1HEX aren't able to find eliminations, this is looking very likely to be a full hold in favor of Reject. Brownie finds that pick onto NRX, who does come back thanks to the BRB. But with Gargoyle putting that extra pressure and just limiting the ultimate gain on the side of N1HEX means that Reject, as their ultimates get closer and closer online for their second rotation, N1HEX, look at everyone on the board there. Everyone struggling to get any sort of ultimates online. Oh my god, what a strangling prison in mid-air of all places.
Aerial combat from the group, baby! You'll love to see it, Ed. We'll see if there's more where that came from. N1HEX, no ults, many dreams here. They just need to break out a spawn and get back on that mission vehicle. They got the Raging Royal Flush at the ready to try and flush him out. Yaki in trouble, does struggle back and will be able to get back to safety. Brownie and co, making sure it's not safe for anybody on N1HEX right now, as Yaki now rip and tears their way through, trying their best to flank their way past this one. Groot in trouble, down to the rubble now, and looking to see if they can catch anyone else around the corner here as well. Piggy and Co fighting slowly, carefully, and the timer almost runs its course before there's one more player left to try and clean up the pieces, Dan.
Oh, Yaki does go down. It's a man advantage in favor of N1HEX. Reject, how do they navigate this? They have ultimates available, but look on the side of N1HEX. They're able to, at the very least, extend this fight long enough so that they have their own ultimates online. Reject will have defensive options as the rest of N1HEX still creating more of that space. The convoy gets closer and closer to that first checkpoint, and this would be an absolute miracle if N1HEX are able to secure something. Great spear coming in from D-Spooky as well to try to force away Reject, but with him going down, that's one of those vanguards gone out of the equation in this final fight as N1HEX get closer and closer to that first checkpoint. It's already at 0.49 meters away.
So close, they walled off from the entire team.
my
A great
God.
way to enable the KO onto Biggie there, and they're gonna be able to disengage them again. Yaki goes down. Louis going absolutely crazy for their team right now. Gargoyle again into the isolation chamber, and they have pushed it past the first checkpoint. They are going even further beyond Dan. N1HEX back in the driver's seat.
All right, N1HEX were just able to stall out long enough, keep that overtime meter alive to the point where N1HEX were just able to find a way with their own ultimates to break through what Reject wanted to do. Because Reject went for those aggressive plays to try to flush out N1HEX. I mean, we saw it way back when Sunkun used that Raging Royal Flush to try to finish off the rest of N1HEX so that even if they do respawn, they're not going to have enough time to get to the convoy in time to try to trigger overtime. But N1HEX just barely were able to get that done as Yaki is able to get a kidnap onto Louis. That's going to be one Vanguard out of the equation for just a few seconds as Louis is going to be brought back, but Winsger not going to be as lucky.
Yeah, not lucky this time. Maybe lucky next time, though, as Biggie and Go get the show back on the road here. Watch the attackers implode, but the attackers do have at least a couple more options they can play into here. Strangling Prison at the ready. Maybe looking to charge things up towards the Rage of Ultron to try and enable them. If they can get the CYA, though, into the Galactic Legend combo, this is a great way for them to break through. Will it allow them enough distance? I'm not so sure.
I'm looking at Gargoyle right now. He has the Heartbreaker. Could easily disrupt the ult economy of N1HEX. He's not going to pull the trigger just yet. It's only going to be the Raging Royal Flush invested onto Seunghoon. Last Stand going to be used as well by Yaki. And everyone on N1HEX is just going to get wiped out from just two ultimates on the side of Reject. So a huge economical win on the side of Reject as N1HEX. Gonna have to reset one more time, but this time Blaziken does have that Rage of Ultron to try to create some space for N1HEX to work with. But again, Reject do have ways to clap back.
Yeah, got plenty of ways to clap back here in a big way. They've got 4 ults to their name and take aim at even more. 20 seconds now, time to get desperate. Heartbreaker coming out. They can disengage N1HEX out of this one quickly, but they're just holding patiently for the moment. Do have the Rage at the ready if required. CYA around the corner. It's time to get angry first and foremost, though. Trying their best to press the issue here. Utilize the cover as well just to smother their way forward. Piggy around the back, though. Strangling Prison disengages. Winsgo looking for more as well. They've got the end song burning their way through. All they have is the Soul Resurgence from XLL right now, and they might just have to do a bit more. NRX does shut down Songhun, though, so they are fighting back. It isn't enough, though, because they are getting forced out further and further away here. They're still fighting, still contesting over the mission vehicle, but they can only stall it out for so long, Dan.
Oh my goodness, it's a back and forth affair. This fight is getting really scrappy as Gargoyle's trying to find some sort of picks. Everyone on Reject are going to have to regroup for a little bit, so N1HEX have a little bit of room to breathe as D-Spooky and NRX are threatening their ultimates. Heaven's Retribution could be absolutely devastating for NRX to go absolutely ham, but then again, you've also got Reject with that Raging Royal Flush. They're going to look to make the first move here.
Make the first move, go first and burst in with a Galactic Legend. NRX hasn't been able to flex forward yet. They're taking a ton of damage and they will fall. Reject absolutely crush them down and will be able to stop them in their tracks. So, N1HEX, they get going for a second there, but they can only go so far before we reach the side switch. It's time for Reject to get onto their own attack now. And let's see how N1HEX's defense stacks up.
Do they want to go for the exact same composition, keep playing that front-to-back style of play, or do they try to switch things up a little bit? Maybe look towards like the Adam Warlock. Probably not going to be the best option, especially because they don't have access to the Loki. So they're just going to have to resort to a very similar composition. We're seeing NRX hover onto the Elsa Bloodstone, straying away from the Star-Lord for a little bit. Because right now, N1HEX, they just need to find a way to bunker down, play strictly front to back. You don't really need the Star-Lord to just, you know, go into those off angles if you really just want to play together as a stack and try to get ultimates in that way to try to outpace what Reject want to do, right? Try to get ultimates online before that Raging Royal Flush becomes a problem. But with N1HEX struggling to find eliminations, at least during the first part of that past round, meant that Seunghoon was just able to combat and just respond with a Raging Royal Flush when N1HEX had their own ultimates online, because their main goal with this damage amplification is to try to outpace Reject.
Yeah, they just have to go first, go fast, and see if they can blast out past them here. The Spooky is still playing into that dive roll onto the Angela this time, similar to the Venom that they were trying to play with earlier, but Reject were just able to shut them down entirely. Later that one might have a bit more luck on the Angela instead though, but I can see already N1HEX are trying to play the corner here, but they're already playing a little bit further back, which means Reject can claim a lot of space here basically for free.
I mean, the biggest way this front-to-back style of play on N1HEX gets disrupted is going to be Yaki on the Wolverine. If he's able to find any sort of key kidnap onto either the front line or the middle line members of N1HEX, it's going to become absolutely problematic in terms of what N1HEX wants to do in terms of that game plan. It's just to stay alive, it's out-sustain the rest of Reject, and so far with the pick onto Piggy, they're doing just that, but Brownie is going to pull it right back.
Right back and right in to gear. Winska instills fear into their enemies here. And it's looking to lock down on it even more. So a great reset coming through from N1HEX onto this one. And trying to dish out a bit of damage from a distance as well. The cherry on top, if you will. Love to see it, but see if there's going to be more where that came from in a second, as they do have the Apex Predator almost at the ready here. Seunghoon are ready for the Raging Royal Flush as well. Got first with that one. Rage of Ultron are forced out in contention. Will be able to sustain their team through the enhanced damage. And Piggy bringing out the Strangling Prison, forcing out the dance floor. Everything coming through right now. N1HEX doing a great job, but they won't be able to keep D-Spooky in through it. They do have their own dance floor into the Apex Predator from NRX now. Doing the best they can to try and fight strong through this one, but they go down. D-Spooky onto the Strange though. It's time for some Portal Combat!
Surely he'll have enough time as the rest of Reject are trying to find stagger eliminations. Winsker will go down the tail end, Blaziken even later. So coming into this portal play from N1HEX, it's going to be very difficult because they're already working at a man's disadvantage. Thankfully, Soul Returns is going to be online, but with that Heartbreaker doing all of that damage, Reject should just be able to scare away N1HEX and just secure that first point. Unless N1HEX finds something of their own, which is just going to be a prayer and a miracle, and none of that is going to be answered here.
None of it will be answered, but it may be answered soon. Heed the call. Get ready to stall things out as we are on the final stretch right now. Seunghoon and Co. ready for the rest of the show. We do have a Strangling Prison right around the corner on both teams. Will they be dunking on it again? We'll find out about that. I'm keen to find out, Dan.
It's going to be a bit of a mind games, right? If Louis does use Strangling Prison, it's surely going to be instantly cleansed by Seunghoon. But no, Seunghoon's going to be using it aggressively. Piggy's going to get taken down. But with Louis connecting that Strangling Prison, it's just too little too late. Two members of N1HEX already go down, and everyone else will just follow suit. Blaziken is kind of just shooting at whatever he pleases as the timer does hit 0, and Reject are able to follow through, and so far get themselves up to that 2-0 in this best of 3 series, best of 5 series.
Yeah, so far so good for Reject. I did like, Dan, that I feel like N1HEX are starting to get a bit stronger as the series plays out. You know, it felt a little bit more competitive for them into that second map there. They pushed a little further than even we were expecting, right? Especially when they managed to turn it around. It showed that they do have some things cooking in the tank there, and I think if they continue to play into their strengths like that, they can even go a bit further beyond. It's like what we were talking about with Keg earlier. Yeah. Those little victories just make all the difference for them.
Yeah, I mean, right now, N1HEX, you can see the strength right now. Really going towards that front-to-back bunker style of play. Just playing together as a team, that's all it takes, right? To at the very least get competitive with Reject. Get those eliminations down, try to focus down one member of Reject so that when they do go for those eliminations, they will be able to just, you know, get some sort of momentum going. It just felt like, at least in that first map, we talked about it a little bit, right? N1HEX kind of just did their own thing. Like, each member just did whatever they wanted. But now here, coming into map 2, it does seem like N1HEX are playing together as a team, trying to identify anyone that's caught isolated on the side of Reject. And at the very least, on the attacking side, it started to work out for them, but, you know, it was towards the tail end of that first round, right, when overtime was going on, as N1HEX were able to add a little bit more time to that bank, but then, you know, Reject were able to finish them off there. But I gotta give props to N1HEX, really, because they looked a lot better here in that number.
Oh yeah, I think that they really leveled up between the first map on Domination there, playing into the Convoy on Yggdrasil Path. You can see that they really tried to play into their strengths onto that classical map there. So great to see how they were able to play and do the best that they could there. Obviously Reject were able to decipher them, but N1HEX were able to use the draft to their advantage to do the best that they could. And I think that, yeah, you got to give them props for getting it as far as they did there.
Yeah, I mean, and then again, Reject, you know, this is business as usual, right? They come in with
another day in the
at
office.
match point, yeah, already at match point. They just need one more map to send N1HEX down to the lower bracket. This is the expected result, but you got to give props to N1HEX in terms of trying to find ways to get some sort of an advantage inside of these maps, right? There were some moments where N1HEX were just able to win out those fights. I mean, there was also a moment where Reject had a bit of a funny strangling prison. I wasn't sure where it was going, but I mean, Piggy's just having fun with it. It just feels like, because strangling prisons in midair, trying to connect it in elevated spaces of the map, you know, maybe it works out for them, maybe it doesn't, but either way, Reject were still able to come out relatively cleanly with a 2-0 so far. One more map is all it takes for Reject to stay alive in the upper bracket, and for N1HEX, they just need to find ways. Maybe they get a reverse sweep going, albeit it does seem very unlikely, but we're going to see after this short break, so we'll be back for map number 3.
Pentagram of Farala. Our enemies are near. By the eye of Agamotto! Out, dark magic! Let the devil go! You couldn't be saved.
Well, Reject are doing Reject things, but we did say that N1HEX is looking a little bit better. Matsy, you are having a glowing time right now. Talk to me about map 2.
Yeah, map 2 was great. I think that N1HEX, like I was talking about before, they're starting to amplify themselves up. It feels like throughout the series, they're kind of leveling up slowly but surely, and they've found, you know, that little victory there. I thought it would be done and dusted before they even got to the first checkpoint there, but they surprised, they exceeded expectations, and managed to do a great job in just enabling themselves with those group walls there, isolating the lines of sight. And like, because Reject was so single file into that last engagement of their attack, then N1HEX just took advantage, singled them out like what Reject had been doing to them on Domination and managed to push it just that little bit further. So it's just those little victories that are building them up a little bit, even if they lost that map.
And those little victories have been really important for N1HEX throughout the entirety of Stage 1. I would say it's because of those alone, they're the reason why they're here in playoffs and not the teams that didn't make it. Remember, N1HEX only made it to playoffs by a 1-map differential from rivals, but that's because they got small victories like the ones you were mentioning before. But having a Gambit Rogue team up fall through in the bans and picks for the heroes, Dan, that seemed really risky, and although this map did go better for N1HEX, it was still a loss.
It really came down to the tempo, right? If N1HEX were just able to utilize the damage amplification to the full potential and find those eliminations, N1HEX could have easily ran away with the game, but Reject were able to just stall it out very well, right? Disengage as much as possible, get that win condition of the Raging Royal Flush online as soon as possible, to the point where when N1HEX just weren't able to follow through in those eliminations, Reject were able to just, you know, use the Raging Royal Flush aggressively, try to run over N1HEX before they even had a chance to get any sort of ultimate combos online. And that's exactly what Reject have been doing, right? Play front to back, try to soak up as much damage as possible without getting knocked out, and make sure that Seunghoon on that Gambit was able to get that Royal Flush as soon as possible, to the point where even if N1HEX had a little bit of that advantage in terms of that ultimate economy tempo, Reject were just able to match it, essentially.
Hey, we're moments away from going into what could very well be our final map of playoffs for the first series of all of Ignite for Stage 1 playoffs, and it's going to be the Hall of the Dahlia. Is this going to be the magic moment for N1HEX? We have talked about how in the past Reject have struggled on convergence maps, but we don't really have a lot of new data to support that claim either.
It's a tough one, right? I think that, like, as we've talked about, you know, in the past, they've struggled a bit more on convergence. Will they struggle here on this map? Honestly, I don't think so. I think that a map like the Hall of Dahlia there is one of the stronghold maps, if you will. It's similar to like your Central Park there, where it's so difficult to break past that first mission area to even convert it into your convoy section, that they could just be like an iron fortress, which is impenetrable. That's kind of what I'm foreseeing here.
Well, you know what, Dan, we did talk about how N1HEX have made leaps and bounds upgrades from map 1 to map 2. Can the same thing happen for map 3?
Yeah, I'm sure N1HEX have found ways to ease themselves into this series. We saw back in map 1 they struggled a little bit. Map 2 they looked a lot better. And if map 3 is following the trends that we've been seeing in the past 2 maps, I'm sure N1HEX could take a step even further. Maybe get some sort of push going. They got to the first checkpoint. Maybe they get to the second one this time.
Okay,
I have no idea. But
baby steps.
N1HEX are starting on the attacking side first here, as Reject are going to be starting on the defense once again.
Okay, so baby steps.
Yeah.
Now, spoilers ahead, I can see which side is which for the bans and picks. So will this mantra of having the first pick and first ban work well for N1HEX, Matsy?
I think that it definitely will in terms of enabling them, like what we saw in the last map there. It allowed them to play to their strengths a little bit more because they were able to garner a little bit of early control into the draft phase there, comparable to the other side. So I think that they can definitely look to try and further themselves in the beginning here, rather than getting left behind as badly.
Could this be the beginning of the lower bracket run for N1HEX if they can't win this next map up against Reject? Could very well be a possibility, but we're going to find out as we head over to the picks and bans momentarily. Dan, what is the wildest thing we could possibly see here in Hall of the Dahlia?
Blade.
Blade?
Yeah.
I see you. I threw you into a loop there, but I mean, it's just going to be ban draft first ban, right? Do you stick with the Gambit or do you go towards the Mantis? Like right now, it's really just been like, hey, is Mantis more of a problem or is Gambit more of a problem? It's going to be a big question coming in to this next ban draft. I mean, I feel like it's going to be every ban draft, right? still people are figuring things out, right? Which is better? Which is worse of a ban? Do you want to focus Gambit to try to deny that Raging Royal Flush rush down potential, and it's going to be one-sided most likely, or do you take away the Mantis where the other team is just going to have a consistent ultimate economy advantage over you?
Yeah, it's the ebb and flow there of what do you take and what do you give here, you know? Like, we've seen Reject being enabled by the Gambit Rogue team up before. Obviously, they've done a good job to ban it away from N1HEX here, so they won't have access to that. But we do see a double-sided Gambit Protects in the beginning here, so potentially looking to lock down that Cyclops in the middle again. We've seen that trend pretty much every time so far. Star-Lord going to be the first duelist to go, though.
Yep, and that's going to be one of those strongest ultimate combinations, right? Raging Royal Flush in tandem with the Galactic Legend can easily KO through those strategist ultimates. And you don't really want to deal with that, so that's going to be taken out of the equation very, very quickly. Whereas Reject are able to secure the Rogue once again. Gargoyle has been always doing very, very well on that Rogue pick. It wasn't very, very meta for a while because Rogue by herself was a little bit on the weaker side, I'll admit, without that Gambit. But now with both sides getting access to the Gambit, Rogue stocks just end up going through the roof here.
Oh yeah, they're at an all-time high, and maybe looking to go even higher as we jump in to the Portal Combat in the beginning here. The Spooky playing around NRX on the Daredevil now. I'm ready to see the Devil get let out onto this one. We'll see how it all fares, though. We play into our respective team-ups here. He's got an Louis looking to enable themselves as well. And N1HEX have got a lot that they can cook on this. Curious if they can make it work in the beginning, though.
Yeah, they do make the textbook play of using the portal to get towards that high ground area here in the first checkpoint. And just at the very least, get control of it, poke and prod to find something to work with. But unfortunately, with D-Spooky going down, it's going to be just a little bit delayed. Blaziken also gets taken down very low, has to go towards the health pack to get himself sustained and stabilized. But with NRX now going down, there's going to be a lot of that space that N1HEX tried to break through, just thrown completely out the window. Now they're going to have to try to get space through the main area.
Yeah, try and push through the main road to glory here, but Brownie be blocking off the road in the beginning here. Do manage to isolate out the KO on to Blaziken there, so going to be blasted away this time. Will be forced to make their team wait to regroup onto this before they go for anything deeper. They are scouting things out around the sides. You can see D-Spooky just trying to see if anyone's trying to push them from the outer rim of the map here. But no one are really looking to meet them with open arms just yet. And Piggy, though, is getting a bit more brazen, a bit more adventurous. They're trying to hunt down an isolation or a KO out of this one.
Yeah, and N1HEX still looking to find something. Piggy does find a nice little isolation onto Louis to try to get himself around the corner to limit the line of sight on N1HEX. But right now, Reject doing a great job at covering all those angles that N1HEX want to go for, because every time N1HEX try to control somewhere in the side area of this map, someone on Reject is there to completely shut it down, and Piggy is literally doing that all by himself, going towards the left side, going towards the right side, because every time N1HEX try to go for something, Piggy is literally right there to defend it.
Yeah, they're prepared for whatever they're going to try and throw at them.
Oh
it
my
looks
God.
like Yaki right now is trying to throw them away, but not going to be able to continue in that direction. It will be forced to just hold their stead here. But speaking of, they're now going to spread their reach onto this, trying to disengage both duelists here. Brownie in a bit of trouble, forces out the N-Song Inferno. Do have the CYA as well to play into this with the Galactic Legend delayed, but they're ready to display whatever they need. Elastra going down is a big problem. Brownie now following up, a Reject in a bit of trouble here. N1HEX might actually be able to break past this one unless someone can go for the last second contest here, but no. Piggy disengages, and we move to the convoy section.
Yeah, huge play from N1HEX to pressure Brownie to the point where he had to use the N-Song Inferno to get the health reset. And with that N-Song Inferno out of the picture, Exile was able to get an uncontested CYA, and N1HEX are able to take full advantage of it. And now coming into this next engagement, Winsker will have access to the one-sided Gambit ultimate. Look at the side of Reject. They don't have that Raging Royal Flush available to them. And it's going to be all eyes onto Reject if they're able to make the aggressive move first and try to limit what N1HEX want to go for.
Yeah, limiting their options piece by piece, and will be able to feast on KOs for days right now. This is a great outcome for N1HEX out of this one, and they can look to further pursue some progression here, and they're destabilizing Reject in the sense they have the staggered returns here, but they've found one of their own now. Zoning out NRX is great. Winska catching Songhun is even greater, but Reject still got the upper hand for the moment.
And their spawn room is just a little bit closer. Piggy switches over to the Vanguard Deadpool to try to provide a little bit of that extra pressure onto N1HEX's backline to try to limit their ultimate charge economy as Exile does get picked off by Brownie. Everyone else still scrambling right now, as everyone on Reject are doing a great job at keeping N1HEX at bay, and although they do lose a few of their members, are able to just hold off until the rest of the team is all regrouped and ready to go. Yaki also switching over to the Daredevil means that a little bit more extra damage is going to be available on the side of Reject, as they do have ways to play front to back, but they also have the option if they really want to go for those dive kind of plays, because Piggy could enable both styles of play.
Yeah, they can enable anything, but it looks like they're not going to be enabled. Spooky going to be absolutely cancelled there. Not going to see Heaven Falls today. Heaven's Retribution back into the drawing board, and it's going to be Reject right now, rejecting any further entry onto this, but NRX does shut down Gargoyle, so this is a good start to trying to bounce back on a comeback here. Reject can stop them with a full stack of ults though. Raging Royal Flush into the Devil coming out, Galactic Legend into CYA, into the end song coming through. Everything's popping and dropping and stopping right now, Dan, and it's Reject coming out on top. Blaziken does at least find Brownie out of it all, but they're forced to regroup, reconsider their options. The Banhammer even coming down as well, just for good measure there, and they're going to treasure those KOs as N1HEX hit the full reset here, but with so many ults being committed from Reject, N1HEX actually might have a better area of entry here. They're almost at the Raging Royal Flush, and maybe then some.
Yep, Raging Royal Flush is going to be once again uncontested because of how desynced both Gambits are at the current moment. There isn't a way to cancel each other out. It's going to be up to Lostro to get a really good Fate of both worlds, time it very well, so that if N1HEX want to go for that aggression, Reject are able to rely on it to find some sort of defensive and just stall out that flying deck of cards being thrown at Reject. And so far, Lily looks to go for some sort of piece of the Abyss, but isn't able to find anything valuable. D-Spooky even using the Heaven's Retribution to try to CC up some of the members of Reject, but he's not able to find any value, and Reject completely happy with this.
Oh yeah, they're going to be more than happy with this outcome right now. Already managing to storm the front will force the BRB to be popped there, so anyone else going down from N1HEX in a bit of trouble as they lose X-Lyle, and more going to be followed up. No one able to stall out the mission vehicle, and it gets stopped in its tracks just like that. So fairly similar distance to what we saw on Yggdrasil Path coming out from N1HEX there. You got to respect them for trying to put full display on their confidence though.
Yep, and I mean, there were moments where N1HEX shined. Like, you got to look all the way back to when they captured the first checkpoint, right? N1HEX are able to pressure the very thing that's denying their win condition, right? Brownie on the Phoenix with the N-Song Inferno, because the N-Song Inferno could easily one-shot the CYA coming in from the Rocket Raccoon of N1HEX. So if they're able to force it out early and wait until Brownie's forced to use it to crash down back to Earth, means that Exile on the Rocket Raccoon just able to get a free CYA down, amplify the damage of N1HEX, run over Reject, and are able to break through. So these kinds of plays is very, very important if you want to get any sort of momentum going. And right now, N1HEX got a very decent push in, and it's going to be up to Reject if they're able to match that at the very least, because right now Reject not looking to make any changes to their composition, because right now they're really positioned towards either the front to back style or the dive style, because Gargoyle can easily play front to back or dive. Piggy could do the exact same thing, and with Yaki being there as well on the Daredevil, he also can either brawl or dive. So Reject, their composition is looking flexible than ever.
Yeah, more flexible than ever here. Let's see what they can do heading into the next portion here. N1HEX just maintain stance over the high ground for now. Reject is scouting them out though. Ready to try and flank around the side. You can see one of them waiting patiently for the distraction to be enabled here before they go full commit onto this one. They're prepared for whatever may ensue in a second. It could be all on the other side of this though, but Dan Brownie has already started the train up here, that pain train, and ready to see if they can further themselves.
I mean, N1HEX are trying to play a little bit more stacked. Reject are very spread out. That forces N1HEX to cover all those bases, and with all of these different LOSs being manipulated by Reject means that N1HEX can't really focus onto a single point, a single line of sight. And N1HEX are looking to crumble quick as you like it within the first minute here in the second round as we do go into a bit of a pause. We'll see what the cause of this pause was, but for now, Reject look to be very much in the driver's seat.
It's the TVA. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
TVA said it's time to prune the time stream. Yep, we run it back. N1HEX called the TVA and said, no, we run it back. We want a full push on our attacking segment, please and thank you.
Just a little bit of a rewind, and then just like, yeah. I want a do-over. Can we run that back one more time? Just run that back again.
Well, let us have another go of it. Yeah. We want to change the draft a little bit, you know?
Oh, we're going that far.
Yeah, we're going that far.
Oh boy. But either way, I mean, right now, Reject just running right on over because we talked about it. They just spread out, force N1HEX in a spot where they're uncomfortable, and force them to get very much spread out, and Reject were able to exploit that completely. N1HEX just crumble at the seams because they're looking more aggressive, more dive-centric with NRXD, Spooky, and Louie. And if they're not able to, at the very least, fully focus onto a single target, it's just going to be so difficult to facilitate. Reject are doing a great job at covering the entire map.
Yeah, absolutely painting it right now with their territory. So, I'll be happy with that. But Lastro gonna make it even better as they are already more than halfway there. Louis, good to try and isolate the KO on a Piggy. Will succeed this time around, and maybe more. Zax Lyle dials in on it. Looks to fall back for the team here. See if they can catch anyone else lacking on this one. Gargoyle in a bit of trouble as well, so opportunities could arise here, but I mean, Reject, they're not worried. They have almost 4.5 minutes to do whatever the heck they please.
And I don't think they need the entirety of that time because Sungun is threatening with the Raging Royal Flush. I'm sure N1HEX are ready to try to shut it down. But with so many of these ultimates getting closer and closer to being online on the side of N1HEX, Reject really need to win this fight fast.
Yeah, as fast as they possibly can here. They need to lock it in. Kumio Unleashed is still running its course here, but with Brownie setting sail towards many KOs, already locking in the triple and could get more. It's kind of insane for Reject right now. 51.51 meters is all they need right now. They're still contesting. Raging Royal Flush now going to be used as well. Heaven's Retribution, it doesn't matter. Nobody's on the mission vehicle. Reject get it done and dusted. 3-0. They set sail to further progress through the PAC playoffs.
I mean, this is what we expect from Reject. This is the partner team here in the Pacific Asia region, and this is what we wanted to see, right? Yeah, we talked about preseason and how they got a little bumpy during their group stage run way back then, but here in stage 1, so far they're still flawless. That 14-0 map record is now 17-0. But N1HEX, you gotta give props to them as well, right? Being able to get at times very competitive against what is the best team coming out of Asia. And this is a great look for N1HEX. Although they do get swept and sent down to the lower bracket, it was not a complete blowout.
Yet there was a lot of moments where they definitely felt competitive. They were able to strengthen themselves, albeit they weren't able to further pursue any deeper progression there. It's just those little victories again that are really shining through for them. And I think if they can further, work on those things to get even deeper control against another team, they can definitely go places here. You know, it's a pleasant surprise, I'd say,
Yeah.
to see how well they actually did.
I mean, the only criticism coming in, right, is just play a little bit more together, right? Maybe look for more aggressive plays. I saw back in map number 1, there were a few moments where if N1HEX went for the more aggressive play, they really could have made that first map way more competitive. But as we got further and further down into the series, it really did feel like N1HEX were starting to warm up here in the playoffs, and hopefully that translates well when they make their lower bracket run.
I mean, you really just have to feel bad for N1HEX too, right? They're the first team to play in the playoffs. They have to play against what could very well be the best team in the entire bracket. They get sent down to lowers first. Same thing happened at the beginning of Stage 1. They played up against Reject. Very first game, very first day of the entirety of group stage. Same exact ordeal happens, but given the small victories that we've seen from N1HEX, Matsy, I think you're inclined to agree with me. Even from that very first showcase, when N1HEX last faced up against Reject, I think this team is looking a lot better.
100%. I think that they've leveled up a bit. Like, we saw them making a little bit of progress, you know, but the fact that they managed to make it through the group stage of Stage 1 in of itself is an achievement for them. I think that now they've managed to really lock in on some more of their strengths here into the playoffs, and we've seen that again. Obviously, you know, they weren't able to get the result they probably wanted there, but it's just that limit testing that's coming into effect there. They've found some little moments. Maybe they just need a little bit more time to kind of play into their synergies here, you know, play more together, as Dan said, instead of just playing into, like, individuality there, and they can definitely, find some further progress going forward.
And before we get to our interview, do we think that this could be the start of a big lower bracket run for N1HEX?
I mean, the potential is very high for N1HEX right now. We saw that they are able to go toe-to-toe with the best of Asia, and if they're able to do that, imagine what they could do against arguably a weaker opponent, right? There's a chance where N1HEX could easily take a map or two, maybe even a series as well down the lowers. And I'm very hopeful for N1HEX right now. They clearly showed that they did a lot of work in the background as they tried to prepare here in playoffs. Albeit map 1 made me hesitate a little bit, but as I saw maps 2 and 3, I think N1HEX are looking better in terms of how they've been playing.
What do you think will be the biggest upset? Theoretically, obviously the bracket's not done yet, but theoretically, what would the biggest upset that we could realistically see in the lower bracket with N1HEX be?
Oh, the biggest upset that could be feasible?
I'm going to say it right now, XO.
Wow, that is a bold one.
I'm a bold kind of guy.
I wanted to like maybe tone it down a little bit. That's a little scary. I'm a little worried if N1HEX are able to take down XO, but
are you listening to these guys? I don't know, man.
It's hard. It's really tough to say in terms of like where N1HEX are right now when you compare it to the rest of the teams that are here in the playoffs. But it's maybe like the Burgers, maybe Triple AD. I feel like around there is where N1HEX could really make things very competitive if they're able to play like they did in maps 2 and 3.
I mean, look, you know, there's an elephant in the room now too. We've talked so much about N1HEX. We're still waiting for the interview to get set up. The elephant has to be: is there a team that can knock Reject into the lower bracket themselves?
I mean, it's Genji. Like that might be the closest.
Well,
that might be able to take. Oh, wait, hold on.
Mr. Australia with the O.
Hold on.
I think that
yes,
realistically, we will probably see Genji are the team most capable to do that. But there's another team which we're going to see very soon, which also could show some capabilities.
Oh, do tell,
to do
my
that
friends.
too. Because right now, you know, we're seeing our first little semblance of inter-regional combat, we'll say, between our OC teams and our PAC teams. But I think we're going to hear a little bit about that soon. Yeah.
Ring. We got Piggy on the line. Hello, Piggy. How are you?
I'm happy now.
Oh, I'm
What happened
sure.
before?
Yeah, congratulations on your win, man. How would you evaluate your individual performance in this match?
I was good, but enemy team, I think, not good team. So just
Honest.
no, yeah, just so I think.
All right,
Okay.
but well, more focusing on your team, right? Who was the
Yeah.
carry? Who carried? Was it you, Piggy?
Sure.
Nah,
already
get the
carried.
gargoyle, man.
No, I love it. I guess in the last game there, how did you feel when you managed to take away the win?
What did you say?
How did you feel about winning the game?
Just we was play for fun. Yeah, just happy.
good.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
are
that's
too,
really
my
good.
friend. Thank you so much, Piggy. I really appreciate you being here, man. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we interview you either. Thank you so much, man. Go get a rest because you got bigger competitions coming up.
GG. See you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It's a promise.